live.
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, we are live. Folks, a very good Wednesday morning to you. This is your weekly dose of Mauls, Balls and all. Normally, we are with you every Thursday, but this is a special occasion as we have a fine guest joining us for this week's show. Joining me are the usual faces you will know from the group. We have Matt Boland, we have Claire Devaney, we have Dara Weston, who is looking well lit up and very angelic-like. And we also have Len as well is joining us. Our guest for today's show, you all know who he is. He has played for Eastwood. He has played for Western Suburbs. He has also played for Swansea. In Wales, he has coached at the highest level of the game. He has coached the Waratahs. He has coached Leinster. He has coached Ulster, Scotland, and most recently the Timisoara. I'm probably butchering that, Matt. You might correct me. Saracens. Matt Williams, how the hell are you, buddy? Are you well in yourself?
Very good, Peter. Delighted to have a chat, to be live in Ireland from the south coast of New South Wales. So very good. Happy to be here having a talk about rugby. Always happy to talk about rugby.
Always happy to talk about rugby, yes. Well, it is our pleasure, Matt, to have you on the show. Now, listen, before we kick off, it would be remiss of me, and Matt, you're probably aware of this as well, the untimely and tragic passing of the ex-Crusaders and New Zealand Maori player Shane Christie, who tragically, at 39 years of age, was found dead in his home. He was very much an advocate of a campaigner, Matt, we're all probably aware of the link between concussion and brain injury. Matt Williams, a tragedy for the rugby world. I don't want to, I just saw this morning or late last night, wherever it was. It wasn't on the list for discussion, but I just thought it was worthy of mention. Matt, did you know Shane? Were you aware of this? It is a tragedy for the rugby world.
Of course, yeah, I didn't know Shane personally, and I didn't coach against him. I'd finished my time in Super Rugby before he came in. But I'm very, there's any time mental illness and self-harm and the rugby players, it's very, very hard for the community to accept. I can only imagine Peter's family, but our thoughts go out to him, obviously, but it's more than that. So many guys struggle, and girls. I think we're going to find this with the women as the women's game progresses more and more. At the end of their career, that progression into the other side of their life, and sometimes if they do have the problems with that concussions have provided or other mental health issues, we've got to have that system there to support them. And I know people are trying. But again, every time we're confronted with this really difficult reality, it's another reminder we've got to do more. So it is a sad day, and we've been struck with it here in Australia in the past, and it's just such a difficult topic for those of us who are left behind to discuss.
But it's not true.
It's still a topic that we have to confront. And we need, medicine and science and support communities out there on every front. It's a very, very difficult issue.
Yes, absolutely, Matt. I totally agree with you. We've had Brent Pope on this show in the past, who is a strong advocate through his Elephant in the Room movement for mental health. But look, I just wanted to acknowledge Shane Christie and just bring it up.
Well done. And Peter, let me say, Popey is a wonderful guy. Old mate, haven't seen him in a few years, but what his honesty and people like him that come out and that are in the public eye that people think you're untouchable. We're all just human. We're all the same.
Yeah,
that doesn't matter if you're the greatest player or you're playing C grade somewhere. We're all the same, and many of us suffer with the same problems. And for someone like Brent to come out and say, listen, it's super important that if you need help, you go and get help. And it's super important if you see people struggling, you are proactive and you ask them, you go to them and talk to them. Look, I have members of my own extended family that have struggled with depression and so on. I've seen it up close. I've had mates that have struggled with it really, really bad, like very close friends. And so, look, I think it's just something we all got to be aware of. And again, someone like Popey, who's so brave to do that, just can't. The respect I have for him is immense for doing that.
But Brent is brilliant. He's been on this show with us, I think 4 times maybe.
Four times, yeah.
4
Champion
times.
guy. Champion guy. Popey.
Come here, Matt. On that, just an aside, as I said to you, we sometimes do shoot off on tangents. Matt, do you think you are in the game at the highest level? You've coached at the highest level. Do you think then World Rugby are doing enough for players who, have spoken out about the concussion issue and mental health issues? Are World Rugby doing enough for its members on that front? Just, I know, again, wasn't on the list. It's something like just popped into my head there.
It's an incredibly difficult question, Peter. Look, I've got skin in this game. I've had a lot of concussions in my playing career, and none of this, what I'm going to say, is like, aren't we macho, aren't we tough? We weren't managed well, but no one knew. We'd have a concussion and we'd be encouraged to keep playing, which we did. After we had concussions, we consumed alcohol. We were back in full contact on the Tuesdays. So,
whoa,
I'll tell you a story. I played for a trial for Australian universities, and I don't remember any of this because my father told me. I took the ball from the kickoff, and a guy swung me, nothing illegal. I put my arm out to palm him, and he grabbed my jersey and swung me, which was nothing wrong with it. But on my way down, I collided with a guy's knee, smashed my nose, and I got a depressed fracture of the cheekbone. And I didn't know any of that. I have no memory of this. I went off, they put blood on, they wiped the blood off, and I went back on. And I played the game. I didn't get selected when I fronted the coach. It's a true story. I fronted the coach, and I thought I would get selected. He said, we didn't think you were tough enough after you got your knock.
Wow.
That is
that's where we've come from. And I'd say none of that with pride. I say none of that with any sort of weren't we tough. It was madness. But so what we're doing, I think especially the last 5 years, there's been a lot of good things done. I think it's a matter of time till we bring in the tackle line at the breastbone, and I think there will be a line come onto jerseys. I know they've trialled this in France and New Zealand with great success. I was helping coach in the academy system in France up until this season. As I'm back in Australia right now, I haven't done it this season, but even last season, the 24-25 season, I was helping coach in a little academy in Narbonne, and it has been a great success for that. The number of head injuries have really dropped. Offloads, all this low tackles. It's been on every front. It's made for positive rugby, and it's kept players much safer. So I think that will come in. I think that the biggest problems, and again, you caught me, Peter, not in a bad way, is the legal battles we have right now, I think are causing great problems because there's people, and I will say this, I think there's people there that aren't genuine. There are people who are genuine and there are people who aren't genuine. And I think sorting out people that we really need to help from those who are trying to get some money has slowed the process down. And I think, and you'll notice that legal battle hasn't come through like we all thought it would. And when you read the reasons, and I'm not a legal expert, there's documents not being supplied by people, like the vast numbers of all this is, and again, we're trying to get the science right from the medical side of things. So it is really complicated. And is World Rugby doing enough? I think they're trying very hard, but I think there's a lot more we can do for it.
It's a very complex issue, Matt. It is,
yeah. And you see, like you're seeing now, guys, on the weekend, if we talk about the Wallaby game, Nick White bang on the ground and off. Now, 2 years ago, Nick White did the same thing against the Wallaby, against Ireland at the Aviva, and wasn't taken off because the doctors missed it. They were looking at something else. And, that caused a furor. And I was trying to go in a bat for the doctors saying, look, this is really hard for them to see everything. It's human error. We're going to have human error in this process. So I think the red card laws, if you compare this to watching rugby league, so rugby league's very big in Australia. rugby is a mile in front in what we're doing for player safety. Can we do more? Probably. I think the mouth guards and all this that are coming in, the force factors, all this. There's going to be a lot more rigorous. How do I say? Not policing, but care come in for this.
Yeah. All right. Okay, Matt, I'll give you a rest now for a second, but I'll come back to you now. Okay, let's go back to what was actually on the list. Matt Boland, we had round 2 of the Rugby Championship kicking off. We had South Africa beating Australia to draw the series so far. South Africa 30, Australia 22. Pollard and the breakdown, Matt, kind of won that for South Africa.
Yeah, look, I mean, we all kind of said before this tournament kicked off that Australia were kind of in a learning or an upward cycle of getting better because they had poor performances in the last few years. And the Lions Tour came at a good stage for them because you could see the progression that they made through that Lions Tour in terms of performances and stuff. And none of us were expecting the result against South Africa that first weekend. They absolutely demolished South Africa. It was a great match to watch. And we knew this second game was going to be a tough game for South Africa. And they were lucky. Let's call a spade a spade. South Africa were lucky to win that. And as we said before in the group, actually, Australia lost that game rather than South Africa winning because they had it. They like the few missed kicks that they had. Their performance on the park was just unbelievable. They were tenacious at the breakdown, and they were just. I haven't seen an Australia like that in a long time, and it was great to see because obviously World Rugby needs a really good Australia for the Rugby Championship. With the World Cup coming up in Australia in a couple of years' time, we need Australia in a really good place. And for me, they have made massive improvements in the last couple of years to the point where they are now. I can't wait to see them for the rest of this tournament. They're fantastic.
Matt, you're freezing there of occasion on your broadband.
Yeah,
but okay.
I know.
Give out to Sky. Throw Sky out the window.
Claire,
yes.
Claire, go on. South Africa 30, Australia 22. Would you agree with what Matt said there?
I would agree. I would agree with what Matt said. Australia lost that instead of South Africa winning. James O'Connor kicking was not up to spec as like the previous week. Let's be honest. Going into the Lions Tour and going into the Rugby Championship, I think most of us had written off Australia. Yes. I think most of us had. Which is not a good thing when you're talking about rugby union. Same way as not having a good Wales team is not good for the Six Nations. We need them at the best. So hopefully they're on the coming back up instead of coming back down. Although I did read something the other day that South Africa are playing the long game. They want to drop below a certain point in the world rankings so that when it's the draw for the World Cup, they will be. Come here. You know what? You know the way people. No one wants. No, especially not the South Africans. Especially not the South Africans. But you know the way people will talk.
Yes, of course. Yes. Okay. Len, your thoughts on that South Africa-Australia game? We've loads of topics to go through, but go on, Len. South Africa.
No, look, similar to what the lad said. I think Pollard was the difference there. 3 penalties, 3 conversions. Standout was the crossfield kick for Moody's, the first try. He was just excellent. Matt O'Connor they left points behind him, which you can't really do against South Africa. But as the lad said, it was brilliant. I actually think Australia left the Lions Tour behind them. I think they could have won that Lions Tour. It was close enough, and I would have enjoyed it, to be quite honest with you.
I don't know about that. Australia winning the Lions Tour?
Look, the first game was a disaster. They weren't bedded down enough. But look, Joe Schmidt is working his magic yet again. And as the lad said, it's going to be great to have, a highly competitive Australian team come to World Cup. Unfortunately, Joe plans to step away, so we're going to see what happens there. But, he transformed Leinster and Irish rugby. And any team you're going to put him into, he's going to make a difference. And I know we probably might touch on it later, but I just think that when they actually beat the Lions, it was not like watching a Joe Schmidt team. That's one of the first things that struck me in that game, because they played a much more on. Joe's known for his structured play, and they seem to be playing with a hell of a lot of flair. We'll come back to Matt on it and see what Matt thinks on that. But yeah, look, that game, Australia left it behind them, unfortunately. It was there for the taking.
Okay, Matt Williams, your thoughts on that particular game? Is it? And I think actually you said this. I think it was you that it was won at the breakdown, and Pollard were the difference in that. Matt, would you agree with that, or what are your own thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's two parts to that. I mean, the Australians, the resilience the Australians showed with all the injuries early on, people playing out of position, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, they would have succumbed off 20, 30 points. They showed such character to hang in there. What Joe Schmidt's done, and I'll disagree a little bit with what's been said. Joe Schmidt's great quality after he stuffed up in 2019, and he did, there's no two ways about it, is he's continued to learn and not let that define him. He's gone back to being assistant coach in New Zealand. He's learnt from his time in New Zealand. He was part of the group that got to that World Cup final, and he's brought that to Australia. Now, what has he done to Australia? He's returned Australia. It's taken a Kiwi to return Australia to our traditional way of playing. What did you notice about the Australian attack in the Lions tour and against South Africa? They are going down the short side, time and time and time and time. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Why? Because you split the defensive line. There's the defensive line out to your right. There's only 4 on the short side. Go at them. Now there's only 3. Go at them. You can't get rush defence. If you're doing that, you can't get rush defence. It takes away, and it frustrates it's frustrated the South Africans, so they gave away penalties. And so all these tactics, and then he's also said, when in 2019, Ireland were the lowest team in the world with offloads. As a matter of fact, most games it was 0. He didn't want it. He had a structured way. You stay in the way I say, and don't come out of it. And it cost him it's cost Ireland 2019 World Cup. They should have gone much deeper into that World Cup. What the Australians doing now? Back yourself. Believe in yourself. Play what you see when the opportunity comes. Play smart, but play what you see. So what does that mean? It means Joe's grown and he hasn't stopped learning. He's a school teacher and he knows if you're going to survive as a coach, you've got to keep changing, you've got to keep learning. And he's done that. What happened in South Africa? Australia let him off the hook. There's no two ways about that. And if you only have to look after they scored what should have been a match-winning try, O'Connor misses the conversion, and they then drop the ball 10 metres from their own 22. All right, and that costs them. But there's one other part that what Schmidt's done. The Wallabies, and I've said this for many years, have not been fit enough. One of the great strengths of Irish rugby in the last 20 years, and when I got there, when I got to Leinster in '99, Ireland's fitness was just deplorable. And so you would go out and they would play games. Brian O'Driscoll's first game as captain against New Zealand, 2001. Richie McCaw's first test. Ireland go toe-to-toe for 60 minutes and are leading at the 60-minute mark. Fall apart. How many times have you seen Australia do that? Because everyone's fit, but to be world-class, you've got to be here. One of Ireland's greatest strengths is their fitness since about 2005, maybe a bit later, 2007, probably before the 2007 World Cup. Their fitness has been world-class. And when they go down to New Zealand, win the Test Series, their fitness is equal to the best in the world. The Wallabies have dropped off. We used to be the leaders of sports science in Australia. Schmidt's taken them back to that. Last bit, he has brought in old, experienced coaches, right? You know, Laurie Fisher, Cron, these are experienced dudes that have been around for 30 years. Laurie's a champion guy, a lovely bloke, technically brilliant. What did Eddie Jones do? When England and Australia, he brought in defensive coaches from rugby league who the first game of rugby they were ever involved with was a test match. First game, they never coached or played or done another game. Brought them in as a test match. It's madness. It was complete failure. Australia and Australian administrators have failed for 20 years as well. So after that World Cup, we brought in Danny Herbert, Wallaby, ex-Wallaby World Cup winner, as chairman. Not a businessman, not a big successful businessman, but he knows rugby. Phil Ward, same thing, was at the Commonwealth Bank, but not a great, huge businessman, knows rugby from the juniors right through. Surprise, surprise, we start making good rugby decisions.
Yeah.
Because we've got rugby people running it. So it's not, and I'm not taking anything away from Joe. Joe deserves all the credit he gets. But you have got the leadership off the field and the leadership on the field understanding the game in Australia. And that's huge. Now, but none of that, of the negative side, underneath that, Australian rugby still has all the problems it's got. And it's got massive problems with our pathways and our high-performance programs, talent ID. It's got massive, massive issues. But these performance, and here's the thing I've always said, we can still put out 25 good players, no matter what. Because what do? They got rid of the Melbourne Rebels, so we're back to what Ireland has. We've concentrated our talent in 4 teams, not spread it across 5. So what happened in Super Rugby? We had a better performance this year. Better performance in Super Rugby, you start winning, learning, get a bit of confidence, take that to the Wallabies, get the cream in the Wallabies. All those things have added up to help Joe Schmidt and the national team. And that's a good thing. That is a really good thing, because rugby here, I can't express to everyone that's watching enough. Rugby in Australia is on its knees. The Lions series and that win at altitude at Ellis Park, our first win at Ellis Park since 1963, I cannot tell you how important this has been for the survival of the game in Australia. It has been paramount. I'll give you an example. Rugby has not been on the front pages for years. It's 3 pages in. It's a little column. We have a current affairs show here on the equivalent of RTE, which would be ABC Australia. It's called the 7:30 Report, Highbrow Politics, Australia win at Ellis Park. The Wallabies are on the 7:30 Report for the first time in 25 years.
Yeah.
I cannot express enough how important these wins have been. And also how the Wallabies have been dismissed. When everyone said, they're going to lose. And I didn't think that. I thought the Wallabies would win a test, because we've got 25 quality players if we can keep them on the field. But below that, it drops away so quickly. And Joe Schmidt proved that. And sorry, Claire.
Sorry, just to agree with what you said, do you think it's coming from the Super Rugby? Because I watched Super Rugby, and the past couple of years, the Australians were kind of on the decline, the Australian teams. But this year, last season, they were amazing. They were actually very, very good. And I did say to someone when they were going to the Lions that the Australian teams were playing very well in Super Rugby, and it could transfer into Australian rugby.
Well, Claire, to answer that, and I can see your Leinster hats and shirts on here. It's not because I coach Leinster. Leinster have powered Irish rugby. Look at the Lions. The Lions were powered by Leinster. So if you have highly successful provincial teams, it carries on to the national team. And Leinster say the same from the ground up. Ireland are playing the way Leinster plays, and Australia is starting to play the way our provincial teams play. Now, if we brought a 5th provincial team into Ireland, we would dilute that talent. And that's what was happening in Australia. We had diluted our talent. We're not producing enough quality players. I actually believe, and I don't want to get rid of the Western Force, but probably we really only can afford to have 3 teams in Australia. That's what we used to have. We won 2 World Cups. We won a World Cup with 2 teams, New South Wales and Queensland. With that added the Brumbies, won another World Cup. Since we've expanded, we've not. Well, they went to the final in 2015. But I think even me as an Australian say we were the luckiest people in the world to make that World Cup final. But there's no doubt the way your provincial teams and your lower teams play, it pumps up into the national side. You only got to look at France. South Africa and Argentina are the opposites of those. Of course, some of their players play in different provinces, and gives you even more respect for how they play. But then, Matt, sorry, Peter.
Sorry, Matt. Sorry, excuse me. I don't mean to cut across. Right. But while you're on that topic, then, is what the Welsh Rugby Union are trying to do. Does that then make sense if they reduce their teams down to 2? Be it Ospreys or Scarlets or whatever teams they keep. Would that make sense then, from what you're saying, for the Welsh Rugby Union to cull their teams from 4 down to 2. Would that benefit the Welsh Rugby Union or no?
No. Look, I was there in Scotland when they cut the borders, and the rugby people fought so hard to stop that. What got that through? So they cut the borders, brought the Scottish down to 2 teams, and the idea was always that franchise was going to go to London Scottish. Now that would be a great idea to have a URC team inside in London, where there's so many expats living. It's a great idea, and they didn't. 2 teams is not enough. Now you look at Scotland, and the reality is, without the imports from South Africa and Australia and legacy players, they'd be really struggling. You need minimum of 3 teams to get the volume of players. So you need 3 tight head props, and their bench says that 6 tight head props playing each week to get them up to a quality to play. If you've only got 4, you get an injury, you can't even play them in a national side. You're left with, I've only got 3 players. So, I think the Welsh are shooting. The Welsh rugby has been diabolically run like Australian rugby for a number of years. How they've gone from the national sport, where it was just the place bled rugby, and when I was playing there a long, long time ago, we were getting 25,000 people, 20,000 people into watch Swansea play at the old St Helens. And now they can't even get 5 to 10,000 to watch the Ospreys. It's just been such a devastating blow. But I think if they drop it to 2 teams, they're shooting themselves in the foot once more.
All right. Okay. And only 6 years ago, Matt, where was it? It was 2019. Wales were the Grand Slam winners. Was it 2019?
Yep. And they were robbed in the World Cup as well.
Yeah, they were.
They were.
Okay. Waiting patiently. He hasn't said a word since he's been on, and it's nearly half an hour. Darragh Weston, how are you? And we are much anticipating your wise words. South Africa versus Australia and everything in between that we have spoken with Matt Williams about. Go for it, Darragh. Give us your take on all this.
I think everyone has pretty much covered all the main points on it. Yeah, I mean, it was. I think it wasn't so much a great win by South Africa, even though they'll frame it that way. Australia left points out on the pitch and could have won it. But, as everybody said, it's great to see Australia back competitive again in the championship and also against the Lions. So, let's hope it injects life back into union in Australia and, raises the prominence of it again, gets more people involved.
Okay, and I was actually going to ask you this as well, Matt Williams, but I'll start with you, Darragh, talking about that Australia-South Africa game. Someone you know, Matt Williams, I'd imagine, David Campese. But Darragh, I'll ask you, David Campese was highly critical of Joe Schmidt prior to that on his call-up of O'Connor back into the squad. He said he's not surprised that Joe Schmidt hasn't won a World Cup. Joe Schmidt is clueless. I'm paraphrasing, but that's more or less what he said. Was Campo just shooting off, mouthing off, or was he justified after that?
I think Campo was getting headlines. I mean,
that's exactly what PJ Bolton said when I asked him the question.
I don't, let's look at it this way. Joe didn't pick James O'Connor, bring him back in from the wilderness because every other 10 was fit. He needed somebody. And so went down the list, who can I bring in? So, I mean, it wasn't that he suddenly decided to bench, every week players and bring them back in. So, yeah, I think, look, Campo loves the sound of his own voice. So I think, whenever he can get a soundbite out there, it's a good day for him.
It's a good day for him. Okay, Matt Williams. Sorry, Jar, were you finished?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, thanks, Darragh. Matt Williams, Campo's criticism of Joe Schmidt was that we're bringing James O'Connor back into the fold. Was, as Darragh said, is Campo just looking for headlines, or what do you think, Matt?
Mate, I was privileged to coach 2 all-time great players, David Campese and Brian O'Driscoll. Absolutely blessed. David's one of the best footballers I've ever seen in my life. He could do things I've never seen other wingers do.
Yeah.
But I've learnt not to listen to what he says about rugby.
I was waiting for that.
Now, look, James O'Connor, I didn't want him to pick him either, but, you know, Liner's injured. Noah Luciso is injured. Donaldson's injured. We haven't got a lot of 10s here. Now, the young the young guy, Edmund, who came on there, I've been a big fan of him for a long time. He's played in Sydney, played at Mile Club Eastwood. He's a good kid, but he can miss some bad tackles. Now, the young guy has had no luck. He came off the bench against Ireland. I don't know if you all remember this in last November. Lasted about 20 seconds. Got a head. We're talking about head knock. Got a head knock taped off on HIA. My heart broke for the kid, and he's never got on since. He was on the bench last week in Ellis Park. He got on there. First thing he does, put the ball out in the full, but he made his tackles. But there is no doubt that Joe's been vindicated by picking O'Connor in the performance at Ellis Park.
Yeah.
So, look, Donald Linehead said something to me once, many years ago, that I've never forgotten. Michael Checker was coaching Leicester. We were doing TV together. And he didn't pick a player. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Kern Hurley after a test match. And I said to Donald, I was surprised he didn't pick Kern. Donald said to me, he said, Matt, the coach knows best. He's with him every day. And I thought, well, I should know that. And he's right. So Joe Schmidt's coached at the highest level across so many clubs and international teams. He knows what the team needed. Now, here's the proof of the pudding. The South African defence compresses and they leave 15 metres on the end of the defensive line.
Yeah.
They've done that. They've done that for 10 years. Compress, sprint up so hard, but you can't get the ball to that 15-metre line. It just rushes up too fast. James O'Connor got the ball to that 15-metre line more times in that game in Ellis Park than I've seen ever against a South African team when Rassie Erasmus has been coaching. Now, and they won. And they won by attacking South Africa in the two places where they're weak, on the flanks and in the spaces between their rushing defence. Look, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. And you know, David's great. He's colourful. He comes out and, you know, he's passionate and all that. But, you know, I don't agree with him on that. We've just got to say, Joe Schmidt's been proven right by the performance. Now, did he kick well enough? No, he didn't. There's no doubt about that.
We've had Campo on this show before. And I would agree with everything that has been said. But come here, Matt Williams, if both are fit, would you start O'Connor or Lina?
It's a very good question. It's a very, very good question. If you had asked me that question 10 days ago, I would have just said Lina 100%.
You would have said Lina, yeah. Most people would.
But not only that, here's the other part. O'Connor has hardly done 80 minutes all year. He's been off the bench for the Crusaders. I think he started one super game. I'm not sure if that's right. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's correct. But let's put it this way. He hasn't started many. And then he's got to play 80 minutes at altitude in Johannesburg in a test match. Like, it's just, he shouldn't have done what he did. And it's great credit to James O'Connor that he's put himself into the situation where we are seriously debating who would you start. Now, they've got, and we haven't mentioned an incredible win by Argentina, their first win over New Zealand in Argentina. And it was
a
great game of rugby. Sorry, no, but I meant the next point is because Australia got Argentina next. So, you know, this is not going to be an easy day at the office. It's at the Sydney Football Stadium on the 11th of September. I'll be at that match, looking forward to it. But that's going to be, Felipe Konopami, our old mate, is going to be driving the Pumas. So whoever they have there can't miss the percentage of kicks that they missed at Cape Town, because you will not beat the Pumas with that percentage. So a lot's going to depend on O'Connor's boot and how he goes at training. But yes, he is in the discussion big time.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Matt. Just bear with me 1 second. Just a few comments coming in. Gregor Galway, morning all and evening to Matt. Yes.
Morning, Gregor.
Sonia Croak. Hi, Sonia. Morning all. And there's more there. Just one more. Just hide that. Okay. Matt Boland. Skelton has been brought back. We'll move on. As I said, Skelton has been brought back to La Rochelle. I've seen some comments online, but I just think it's something worth talking about. That it is a bit of a two fingers to the rugby championship. Now there is no law being broken here under World Rugby's law number 9, I think it is. This is perfectly allowed, but the optics, Matt, are not great. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it'd be like pulling one of our best players in the Six Nations to go and play a game for Leinster or Munster or whatever. So it's of the same stature as that. You know, like pulling. I suppose the French he's been pulled back to start for La Rochelle. Then has he for the
against Bordeaux? Yeah, their first game at the at the top 14.
Which that's the pulling power of the French, though. Like that league is just unbelievable. And you know, if it's come from the directive from La Rochelle to say that they want their best player starting, then World Rugby have to allow that. You know, it's a shame for Australia because we saw what he did against the Lions and against South Africa their last two games. Like the chap is.
Oh, he's a running tree. Yeah, sorry, Matt. Go on. You froze there.
He's what?
He's a running tree. He's a big man.
Yeah. Look, he's massive, and you know he's an absolute pest at the breakdown, and he'll just get in everybody's face and make every ball difficult to get and retain, and that's what you want in a guy, you know. And he proved that against South Africa. He proved it against the Lions. And he does it day in, day out for La Rochelle. So, you know,
yeah,
it is essentially a big two fingers to the championship. But I mean, there's, as you said, there's no law broken, so they can't really. Nobody can complain or do anything about it. Like so.
All right, okay. We're nearly 40 minutes in. Claire Devney, to yourself, the optics of Will Skelton being brought back to La Rochelle in preparation for their opening game of the top 14 against Bordeaux.
When is the opening game?
Come on, what?
When is the opening game? It's not for another couple of weeks, isn't it? No?
Yeah, but you get back in training, the fitness, all that. But the optics of it, Claire, don't look great for Australia.
I thought he was injured. It was only when I was talking to you that you told me he wasn't injured. I genuinely thought he was injured, and that's why he had gone back. No, it's not. But it goes to show that money. And let's be honest, La Rochelle have money. Which takes priority? Is it country or your club? Like I know in the IRFU, they kind of, if they're central contracts, they have some say, not much, but they have some say over the clubs. But that doesn't seem to be the case with France. It's basically the French can tell, the French clubs can tell you, no, we're not releasing you, or we're pulling you back.
But they do it in Europe as well, Claire. You know, when they're
I know that. So that's it's basically comes down to like who's in charge, and your club is the main people they play for and pay your money. So if your boss says you have to be there, you have to be there.
Right. Okay.
Well, it's funny.
Thanks, Claire.
I think with the French players, the French clubs treat them a lot differently. With the foreign players that play over there, you know, they get called up whenever they're needed and they get played. You know, they play the arse out of them. You know, but the French players get a lot more respect because they want them playing good for France.
Yeah, very true, Darius. Len, your thoughts on this? Just as I said, there has been no law broken here. It's law 9C or subsection, whatever the hell it is. But it doesn't look great, though, Len, does it?
No, actually, my understanding of that regulation 9 or whatever it is was that the club couldn't refuse a player leave to play for the country once it's within the international window. So, obviously, there's some sort of a prior agreement between La Rochelle and the Australian Rugby Union, and he can just split off. Look, he's like you only have to see O'Gara's praise for Skelton during the lines. You know, he has the height of O'Gara, man. He built the team around. So it's a huge loss. He obviously wants him back, but at the same time, it's an absolutely huge loss for Australia. especially with the Rugby Championship for the first time, was just wide open. Any of the teams could win it. So, yeah, look, it's not a great look, but look, it is what it is.
Okay. Matt Williams, you would have a far more informed idea about this. What do you think about all this, Matt?
Well, let me tell you a factual story I know is true. A player I coached who was from Fiji went to a French club, and the French club says, here's 2 contracts. One with a lot of money if you don't play international rugby anymore, and one with far less money if you play international rugby. So that's just fact. And the French clubs do it. And when you are a foreign player in France, as Len, you're the hired help. You play every game. Get out and do it.
Yeah.
You are the hired help. And it's a brutally long season, starting in August. And if you make the final, it's next June. And it's hardly a week off. You get a week off in the November and a week or 2 off in the Six Nations. Otherwise, it's every week. Get out there, do it. So, look, I think it's pretty clear that whether there was an agreement with the Australian Rugby Union or with Joe Schmidt, I don't know, regarding, how long Skelton would stay with the Wallabies. But, it looks like it was preordained. Would Joe Schmidt and Australian Rugby like to keep Will Skelton? Yes, they would. He is an enormous difference to the team, an enormous difference to our scrum as well. Like, people forget that everyone looks at your props for scrummaging. Your second rows are just as important. The power behind your props is just as important as the scrummager. A prop without power behind him is nothing. You've got to have both. And the second part of that is, obviously, La Rochelle, who pay his wage, want him back. And I understand that. I get that. So somewhere in that, and I don't think it's 2 fingers to the championship. I don't agree with that. I just think it's the politics and the reality of the French season. And the French clubs are one of the biggest problems, or are the biggest problem, of why we haven't got a global calendar. They will not reduce their season. So they've got a top 14, then the Pro D2 has 16, and then the 3rd division, I want to say, has 14. And Burnham Laporte a number of years ago wanted to go to 3 divisions of 12, 3 professional divisions of 12 teams each. And it just cost him, they wouldn't support it because that would reduce the season. It's murder on the staffs. If you're coaching in France, you basically get a couple of weeks off at the end of the season, you get a month of prep, and then you're into season. And it's just a grind of every week, and it's for the players. But if you drop points, as La Rochelle did early last season, it cost them the playoffs. So that's why Ronan wants him back. And I don't blame Ronan, but you can see the players are dragged and caught in the middle between this. And World Rugby is not strong enough to bring the French clubs to heel and say, no, reduce your season, the length of your season. This is your playing dates. Stick within that. And that's why the French didn't take a top team to New Zealand.
Sorry, Matt. But why don't World Rugby bring the French to task over that? What is the problem?
Money.
What is it?
I got to say money. Money.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at...
Okay, hold on. Sorry, Claire. One sec. Yeah. Matt Williams, why don't World Rugby bring the French to task over that? Is it, as Claire said, money? Or would they not, as you say, it's week in, week out with very little time off, player welfare, I'm thinking as well. What is it, Matt?
Tick all those boxes. When the game went professional, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and Italy all owned the game in their country.
Yeah.
England and France did not. The clubs owned the game. They are not owned. The franchises, the teams, are not owned by the national body, and so the clubs are the French clubs are just independent. So it's only been in Galtier's era that the French players selected for France have the week off before the Six Nations, and in the week off during the Six Nations, they all had to go back and play for their clubs. So when you had that decade where the French weren't winning, these guys weren't fit enough. They weren't training hard enough because the club said, well, we don't care if France wins or loses because we're paying them their wage. So the clubs dominate in France and in England. So until they can break that nexus, World Rugby is not strong enough. Like Galtier didn't bring a strong team to New Zealand this year, or his strongest team. Left them all at home because they played the last game. All his best players had played for about 10 months. Did he want them to play for 11 months? No, he didn't. So he brought a second-rate team to New Zealand. So it devalues the internationals. The Kiwis were rope, and I don't blame them. But it is a problem until they get control of the clubs. We'll never get a real global season organised. If they did, Skelton would be playing for the Wallabies against the Pumas next week.
And he would probably play just 50 minutes of that game, Matt. As we all know, he's not an Andrew Porter who plays 80 minutes.
No,
but Skelton does enough damage when he's on to either close out a game.
Yeah. And look, it's at so many levels, the international level. Skelton's a power athlete, and if you look at what Australia done, Australia nullified the power game of the South Africans. And that's not easy to do. The only other two teams that do it, Ireland, have done it brilliantly over the last few years, and New Zealand will find out in New Zealand. But Skelton had a lot to do with nullifying their power game.
Yes, very true, very true. Okay, we are fast running out of time. My God, Dara Weston. Let's just talk about the second game briefly. We had Argentina 29, New Zealand 23. Les Cusworth, as you know, Dara, who's been on the show, he's heavily involved, or was heavily involved in Argentinian rugby, sent me a very proud message he was of Argentina beating New Zealand, and I congratulated Les. I said, well done. But it was a great win, though, Dara, for them, wasn't it, for the Argentinians, for Los Pumas?
Oh, definitely. It was, I'd say Les had a couple of Malbecs to celebrate after that.
I think he did.
I mean, for a system that's built on kind of amateur ethos, really, for a nation that's built on it, it was great to see them win. And then obviously as a Leinster fan as well, to see, Dr. Phil, in charge, obviously great as well. But no, it was, I think rugby thrives on this every so often, these kind of, matches that people think of like giant killers, because I mean, Argentina have fairly limited international season. They've the championship and then they get a couple of the autumn internationals in Europe, but they wouldn't have possibly as many games. And then obviously they don't have their own kind of franchise teams like Super Rugby or anything like that.
They did, didn't
they?
They
Did
used
the
to have,
Jaguars, wasn't it?
Well, Jaguaries. What happened to them actually?
I think they folded during COVID, I think it was. So they have a couple of teams now that are in like an American Super League who've won it. I think there's one in, Les mentioned it last time he was on. There's one in Buenos Aires, and I think there's two others then in other massive cities in Argentina. But to get a win, like, look, it's not so long since Ireland had our first win over the All Blacks, and I think for a nation that's a massive impetus when you beat somebody who are kind of like the basically going back, the OG daddies of rugby were Australia and New Zealand. We all grew up seeing them kind of win everything and being unstoppable. So, it's a massive shot in the arm to get a win over them.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Dara. Matt Boland, your thoughts on that particular game? Matera, I thought, was an absolute menace.
Yeah, well, I read something there. He's the Argentina beaten the All Blacks 4 times, and he's the only player that's played all 4 tests for all 80 minutes. You put that up, did you? But yeah, I saw it on Champagne Rugby on Instagram as well. But like, he epitomizes Argentinian rugby because he puts everything. Every game he plays, he leaves everything on the pitch, and there isn't an ounce of energy left in that man's body when he's leaving a rugby pitch. He just leaves it all out there, and we can see by their fans how how proud they are as a nation of their team. And I was at the Argentina Lions match in Aviva Stadium, and I got chatting to this one guy from Argentina, and he flew directly from Mexico, where he lives, for this one game. Was coming in didn't even have a place to stay, was flying back out that night. Like, it was just incredible. And they are such a proud nation, and they are a quality team. And like, anybody that doesn't pay the Argentina respects, that'll be the rock they perish on. And we've, as a nation, Ireland have done that many times against Argentina.
Or should they beat us in the quarterfinals, I think, or whatever it was at the World Cup there?
Oh, yeah, two World Cup quarterfinals.
And they knocked
Claire,
us out of a group as well.
Sorry, Matt, go on.
And they knocked us out of a group as well in another World Cup.
Yeah,
They did.
Yeah,
they did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, Claire. Yeah, quickly, your thoughts on that the Argentina and New Zealand game.
I was just going to make a comment. Yeah, he leaves everything on the pitch if he's still on the pitch at the end of the game, if he hasn't been carded.
If he's not carded.
If he's not carded. Aren't two Argentinian players the most carded people in world rugby?
Thomas Lavini, yeah.
I think two of them are, and then somewhere up there is Dylan Hartley as well. It is. It's a great, as you say, the giant killers. It's great to see teams like that be the pinnacle or the top in the world. It says a lot for rugby. It is good for rugby. Because if it's a bit like they're always winning, it's kind of going, here we go again. But no, it was great. It was a great game.
Okay,
and I'm just aware of the time.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks, Claire. Len, briefly, your thoughts on the Argentina-New Zealand game?
Marvellous. And actually, I think myself and Mike really thought we might actually do the job on New Zealand in the very first game, in the opening game. It didn't happen, but we had to wait a week for it. That was great. Yeah. But you only have to see the passion that an Englishman like Les Cusworth, who's living down in Argentina, has for Argentinian rugby. So the Argentinian passion for rugby is off the charts. And I have to say, I love the brand of rugby to play, the attacking rugby. Brilliant win for him. And I can't wait to see how they progress in the championship.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Len. Now, Matt Williams, one thing I have to ask you was on the list. I said it, we'll talk about it humorously. Matt, your spat with Razzie. Where did all that come from? I know you had a counter about the bomb squad, and he came back at you. And where is it now? And so where did it start, and where is that now, Matt? Tell us.
And when he's meeting up for points.
What's the saying? The only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. I had no idea of any of this, right? So this has got nothing to do with me. So I said I didn't like the 7-1 bench, and I don't. I think it's a disgrace. I won't go into it again. Anyway, I start getting death threats from South Africa on social media, and I'm going, death threats because I don't like a 7-1 bench. And that's a bit extreme, isn't it? And apparently it's just gone berserk in South Africa. And they were taking, when I was doing Virgin Media, was all going down there. And next thing, and I got off this, next thing I know, Rassie Erasmus sends me a tweet. I'm going, what does the coach of South Africa do and send an old bloke like me a tweet? So I just replied, hey, Rassie, hope you're doing well. Still hate your bench, like I didn't think anything more. Anyway, I do another. I was doing a podcast for Off the Ball.
Yeah.
Last year before Ireland played South Africa in the second test. And I was talking about how I didn't like the 7-1 bench. So I'm sitting down at my house. It's midnight because I'm in Australia and they're playing in South Africa. I've got a mate with me, a guy called James Patrick Brennan, good Irish name. And we're sitting there going to watch this game at midnight. We've got a couple of beers. And we're getting the game beamed in from South Africa. We get the South African broadcast. And there at the beginning, they bring all these people talking about it, flash up. And there's me. I'm going, that's me. What? And he looks at me and goes, you're just on South African TV. I go, I know, but why? So they've taken and put it on. I'm just a pawn in this game. So the other day, I was talking again about how I thought the Lions tour to South Africa was disgraceful rugby, and I thought the way that both camps carried on was awful. And next thing, my son rings me. He goes, what did you say to Rassie Erasmus? I said, I haven't said anything to Rassie Erasmus. He goes, Well, I can tell you, mate, it's all over social media. So I just go on, and Rassie says I was a lousy coach and got a terrible record and all this sort of stuff. So I just said, Rassie, playing the man and not the ball again. Seems like a losing argument. Just closed it and ran away. And apparently it was a hand grenade. You know? So look, I got no idea, but I am delighted that the best coach in the world is hanging on every word I say. I'm absolutely moved by that. But I just got no. It's one of those things, you know, where the world of social media just takes you to a place you just should not be in. Where you're getting people saying, you know, I think you should die because there's a 7-1 bench. Okay.
That's a bit extreme, really.
It's a bit extreme on that.
The staffers do take the staffers, especially on social media, because we've seen this. On social, they take it to the extremes. Like, it's a bit like you're taking their firstborn child and taking them forever when you say something about their team or their coach or something that happens. They kind of do go a bit. Yeah, I try not to get into rails with them.
There was a beautiful meme. Sorry, Matt, you go.
No, sorry, Matt. No, they just go from 0 to 100 in a little tiny comment, and they just ignite straight away, and that's it.
Yeah, it's quite. There was a beautiful meme, very understated, and it was a logo, the Wallaby logo, and it had the South African rugby supporters' silence on social media, brought to you courtesy of the Wallabies.
That was enough, and that set.
That was enough. And I said, I didn't retweet it. I didn't send it on. I just stayed on. I'm out of this. I want nothing to do with it.
Jesus, Matt, could you imagine if you did retweet it or sent it
on?
Oh,
God,
yeah. Radley's head would explode.
No,
okay, absolutely. We've got about 2 minutes left, and what I want to just get your, as we always do, win, lose, or draw. There is loads of games on next weekend, but I picked out 3. Sorry, next weekend and the upcoming games. But there's one there. Dara Weston, the Irish women are playing the Spanish women. Is this going to go according to script, Dara?
Yes, I think so. I have to say the Irish girls are going to win. You know, Spain are a team that are coming up, but judging by the performance the girls put in against Japan, I think they'll win.
Okay, and Japan actually bet Spain as well. Japan bet Spain previously, yeah.
Okay, and Dara, the following weekend, it's just because we have Matt Williams on the show, I wanted to get a prediction on these. Australia are playing Argentina. That's going to be a great game, hopefully.
I think Australia will do it. I know Les Cuthbert will be watching this and he'd be hating it, but no, I think Australia will do it. You know, Argentina are on the ascendancy as well. They've had 2 good matches against the All Blacks. But, you know, I think Australia really have the bit between their teeth. They have momentum.
But Argentina have momentum as well, Dara. No?
They do, but look, I think Australia have kind of the depth there. And, you know, I don't know. I don't think Skelton going back to La Rochelle is going to dissolve the Wallabies in any way, shape, or form, you know. So I think they'll do it.
Okay. And the other game as well, Dara, is New Zealand are playing South Africa. Who's winning, drawing, or losing that?
Oh, I think the Kiwis are hurt, and they'll come back, and I expect they'll beat South Africa.
Okay.
I think it'd be close. It'd be a close game, but for all our South African fans, I think the Kiwis will win.
Okay. Matt Williams, I'm going to leave you the last on this, and we'll end the show, and you be the last on this. So, Matt Boland, Ireland, the Irish women are taking on the Spanish women. As I've asked Dara, is that going to go according to script?
Yeah, look, I don't see any result other than an Ireland winning for the girls in that game.
Okay. And the following weekend, Australia are taking on Argentina.
Look, there's no doubt about it. That's going to be an absolute quality game because both teams have got the momentum and they're both going to want to win. There's a lot at stake, but I fancy the Wallabies to do it. Back home, confident with two huge performances in South Africa. I think they'll nip it by a score or 2.
Okay, and finally, Matt, New Zealand are taking on South Africa.
Yeah, I just, South Africa are a good side. There's no doubt about it. But I do think they're just stagnated a little bit. Other teams have kind of figured them out ever so slightly, as Matt Williams has brilliantly put their flaws on their rush defense and all that sort of stuff. And I think a lot of teams now have the ability and the paperwork and the mastery to beat them. And now it's a better team like the All Blacks to do it. And how could anybody go against the All Blacks in New Zealand is beyond me. I'm going to go with an All Black win. Be it tight.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Claire, the Irish women against the Spanish women. Who's winning that?
The Irish women.
Okay, Australia taking on Argentina.
I'm going to say Australia.
All right, New Zealand taking on South Africa.
New Zealand, and the only reason is because they're in Fortress Eden. They're in Eden Park for that game, and it's very hard to go to Eden Park and get a win. Extremely hard. Yeah, it's a fortress. Don't think they've been bet there in like ages and ages.
93.
93, yeah.
There you go.
93. Yeah, ages and ages. Yeah. I was like
93.
Wow.
I was like a teenager when that happened. Oh my god. That's a long time ago.
Len,
Yeah,
yourself, second last. Len, the Irish women against Spanish women. Go for it.
No disrespect to Spain, but yeah, the Irish women.
Okay, Australia against Argentina.
Yeah, I'm going to book the trend on this one. It'll be a tight game, and Joe will have a plan, but I kind of fancy Argentina for this one. It'll be a close game. I'll do what Mike Reedy honors. Sit on the fence. It could go either way. Yeah, I'll go with Argentina.
You have to do a round spot.
Okay, Len, New Zealand against South Africa.
Yeah, I'm going to go New Zealand. Again, there are going to be two mouth-watering games. They're going to be crackers of games, but yeah, I'll go with New Zealand. Again, I think it'll be a tight game.
Okay, thanks, Len. Okay, last voice on the show, our guest, Matt Williams. Okay, Matt, same question to you. The Irish women against the Spanish women. Would you expect an Irish win there, Matt?
Yep, Ireland will win that one. The Argentinian-Australian game is at the football stadium in an afternoon test, and that's going to be a great day. Afternoon. We don't have many afternoon games here, usually at night, and I think that's going to be a fabulous game of running rugby if the weather gods look after us. Australia to win, and Australia to beat Argentina in both tests in Australia. New Zealand, South Africa, Eden Park, New Zealand. But the second test, I think the Saffers might learn a bit and get up for the second. I think they could split it. So that could leave Australia close to the top of the table with two games against New Zealand and the Bledisloe Cup in play. Jeez, I hope it happens. Wouldn't that be great fun?
That would be great fun. Yeah, it's in fairness, you have to say the rugby championship this year is like wide open with the results. It could go to any of the four teams in it. You wouldn't be upset if it went to any of the four teams in it.
Yes.
Quite well, right, I would, but Claire, I know what you're saying, Claire. I know what you're saying, but I would. Sorry. Look, for two games, everyone on the same points, or one win. Yeah. The Wallabies missed a bonus point, but it's certainly a great. Look, it was a great championship last year too, even though Australia didn't play well. Yeah, it's really maturing as a competition.
Absolutely, yes. Well said, Matt. Okay, folks, that is all we have got time for. We're over time as usual. My thanks are to my colleagues, Matt Boland, Claire Devaney, Len O'Sullivan, and Dara Weston, and also to our very special guest. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on with us, Matt. And listen, I hope Australia do great things for your sanity coming up in this Rugby Championship. Matt Williams.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's be honest. If we were saying we wouldn't be rugby supporters.
There you go. That's it. All right. Good luck, all.
Thank you.